Hey there, welcome back to High Infidelity, the best channel for cheating stories. Like and subscribe to channel for more spicy stories. Now, let's get into today's story video.
Wife cheated after 13 years together. As background information, my wife, 28 female, and I, 28 male, have been married for 13 years and have 2 children. We started dating when we were 16 years old and have been together ever since. We were married 3 years ago. The sort of relationship that others coveted was ours, and everyone expected us to tie the knot while we were still relatively young. Approximately a year and a half to 2 years ago, things started to shift between us and our relationship. Following some family difficulties, she started to become more distant, both emotionally and physically, and to become too protective of her phone, as well as to get more close to a male coworker. The long and the short of it is that I snooped. Yes, I understand this is bad. On her phone because I had a sneaking hunch something was going on based on a number of factors and found evidence of her affair with this individual in the form of text messages. In early September, when I asked her about it, she admitted that it had been going on for a year. He and she were having an affair in our home, and they were sleeping together in the bedroom that would eventually house our future children. She apologized and vowed that it would never happen again, and I told her that she couldn't have any contact with the person with whom she had cheated on me if we wanted to continue our relationship. She agreed, and we were able to go on. 2 months later, they are still in touch on occasion, with her arguing that it is unfair of me to expect her not to communicate with someone she believes to be a close friend. At this point, I'm at a loss on what to do next. I'm attempting to see if I can continue, but I'm scared I'll never be able to put my confidence in her once again. It is my opinion that her choice to keep in touch with him suggests that she places their connection above our own. I'm just torn between what my instincts are telling me and what my logic is telling me. She also advised me not to tell any of our friends about what was going on, so I don't have anybody to turn to for advice. Sorry for the rant, but this is the first time I've put it all down on paper, and I honestly don't know how to proceed or cope with this situation anymore. Added after the fact, I had not anticipated such a strong reaction. The majority of you found this beneficial, with the exception of a minority of you who seem to feel that harsh replies are acceptable when someone's whole life is falling around them. I know exactly what I need to do. All that remains is for me to remove the bandage and go to work. I'm going to call the lawyer with whom I had a brief conversation a few weeks ago tomorrow and see what he has to say about how to proceed with the situation. Update. It was at this point that I called my lawyer, told my parents and a few close friends, and informed my wife that my divorce was finalized. As she sobbed and begged, she promised to make things right and to refrain from contacting with the AP in the future. We spent the whole weekend with her, making promises and saying and doing all that was expected of us. Despite the fact that I didn't believe her totally, I was willing to give her one more chance to save what I felt we had. Things were okay. We had been coexisting for about a month, but she was paying more attention to me and was less engrossed in her phone's notifications. After that, 2 weekends ago, she handed me her phone to show me something, and as I carefully went up on her open apps, there she was, on Instagram, speaking with her Associated Press reporter. After I freaked out, the woman informed me that he had just texted her and that she was unable to respond. They were talking about what they were going to do the next night as I was reading their conversation. Once again, I was taken advantage of, lied to, and duped. She said that she would ultimately ban him, but that she wanted to say goodbye since he was a pal in the meanwhile. I told her it was inexcusable and that she needed to stop all connection with him and block him immediately, which she agreed to do right away and pledged to do. I inquired of her 2 days later as to whether she had blocked him, and she said that she had not. The long and short of it is that I notified her right immediately that we were divorcing and that we could either go through mediation if she agreed with my wishes, or I could hire a lawyer and obtain what I wanted regardless of whether she agreed. She agreed to mediation, and we will begin the process as soon as possible. It took me a lot longer than it should have, but I've now gained enough self-respect to put a stop to this and go out and live the life of happiness that I so richly deserve. She continues to attempt to make me feel guilty about it all, blaming me to some extent and telling me what a terrible situation I am putting her in, but I remind her that it was her choices, not mine, that brought about this, and that she must deal with the consequences of her actions, which she does not. I've been notifying more of my friends about what happened, in addition to alerting the rest of my family about what happened. This is not how I had envisioned my life would turn out, but I see it as a blessing in disguise, and I am certain that I will meet someone who will really make me happy in the end. Final update. After informing my ex, 29 female, that we were divorcing, the gaslighting began in earnest. Blaming me, telling me that it's my fault that I'm doing this to us, that I'm giving up on our marriage, that it's very sad that I'm letting our relationship end this way, and that I'm going to take away the home that our dog knows, and so on. I held firm, refused to allow her get to me, and proceeded with divorce mediation. The mediation went well, she agreed to everything I asked for, and I got news from the courts yesterday that I am now a free man. We sold the home within 3 months of initiating mediation, and she moved out 1 month before closing. The gaslighting continued while we were living together waiting for the home to sell, with her continuing to blame me and telling me that I am terrible since I refused to talk to her at all, and a slew of other things that only a very ill person would believe given the circumstances. After the home sold, I returned to my parents' place for a few months to gather myself and figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I began weekly counseling and was able to reflect on the relationship, seeing how poisonous and one-sided everything was. I was the one who was constantly putting myself last and sacrificing my happiness in order to accommodate her and her excessive requirements and expectations. My therapist says that she has borderline personality disorder, which runs in her family, and this makes perfect sense. I was also able to address and continue to address the underlying problems that led to my involvement in such a toxic relationship, and at this point I believe I will be able to recognize the warning signals. I recommitted to my physical health as well, shedding 15 pounds in 3 months and returning to running, where I am presently preparing for a 10K. I moved into my own apartment in New York City earlier this month and reconnecting with old pals, and have begun dating for the first time in my life, albeit pretty unsuccessfully at this point. In addition, I received a promotion at work a few weeks ago for which I worked really hard. I am in a better mental, physical, emotional, and financial state than I have been in years, and her revealing her real colors by having this affair was the greatest service she could have done for me. I have yet to tell all of our shared acquaintances about the affair because I was scared she would get enraged and abandon mediation. But now that the divorce is official, I will inform everyone in our lives of who she is and what she did. All of this was probably simply a lengthy way of stating that things would get better. There is nothing wrong with any of us because we were cheated on, and you should strive to utilize this as a springboard to improve yourself and become the best person you can be. This will most likely be my last substantial article here because although I don't believe my road of recovery has ended, it has just entered a new chapter, and focusing on what this lady did to me is not worth it. Thank you once again for all of your help, both in terms of lovely comments and the painful facts that I had to read.